Hey everyone, this is Kriezler Raven, and you probably haven't seen my face in quite a while now, but here I am. So I'm making this video because I wanted to talk to you guys about a TNT show which is titled The Alienist. And I have already reviewed the first two episodes for the Geekery. The link to that review will be down in the comment section below. So this week on Monday, episode 3 debuted on TNT, and and I'm going to talk about that episode. So this video is for the Alienist season 1, episode number 3, which is titled Silver Smile, and I'm going to do a recap and review of it. So if you guys don't know, The Alienist is set way back in during the 1890s. It was the golden age of New York. And so this show is about mental disorders and how that education or that field progressed through the ages. And people who studied other people with mental disorders or mental problems were known as alienists. And that term came into being because a person who experiences mental hardships are were supposed to alienate themselves from society, and that's why the people who study such individuals were termed as alienists. However, the modern term would be a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So this episode, not this episode per se, but this series has to do with a murderer who is on a killing spree, and his targets are little young boy prostitutes who dress up as girls and they go out, but this person is killing them. And after he kills those little children, he gouges out their eyes, he dismembers their body and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of gore in the series, so be careful about it. And this series stars Luke Evans, and there's also Dakota Fanning. Now, Dakota Fanning plays Sarah Howard, and she's the first ever female official in the police department who actually has a job. Like, she's the secretary, she's not in the cleaning department, she is actually a secretary to Theodore Roosevelt, who went on to become one of the presidents of the US. Anyway, coming back to, like I said, you can read my review of the first two episodes on the Geekery. However, coming back to episode number 3, which is Silver Smile. Now, episode number 2 ended with John Moore, who is played by Luke Evans, visiting a brothel, and he gets drugged up. He's like drugged and he falls unconscious. And now in episode 3, we get to know that apparently John Moore was sexually assaulted. And yeah, so sexual assault is a very serious issue. But in the episode, even though John Moore, like, I can understand John Moore not wanting to talk about what happened to him, and also how he doesn't remember, like, he doesn't clearly remember what happened to him that night. But the way it came across to me in this episode was as if the writers didn't really care. It was dropped too soon, and I really hope that the writers continue, like, they don't drop this thing that yes, John Moore was sexually assaulted, but we are moving on now. I really hope that they try to, like, address it properly, because again, sexual assault is a serious issue, and I really don't want this series to just have had that scene from episode 2 for cheap shock value. Anyway, so in episode 3, we get to see that the investigation team led by Chrysler, they are slowly moving towards trying to find out who the murderer is. Like, right now, they don't necessarily have any leads, and they are and currently they're in the position where they're just trying to figure out the murderer's MO and concentrating on why he is killing young prostitutes and why is he killing them, like, near oceans, or what's his affinity to water. And yeah, there was also a scene, like, this episode also showed that even though Chrysler and his investigation team are trying to uncover the real identity of the murderer is also kind of toying with these people. Like, he knows that Chrysler and the rest of the people are trying to catch him, and the murderer is like playing with them, and he ends up picking up John Moore's notebook, which has all his little drawings in it. So I really think that the murderer is going to, like, try to contact one of the members under some sort of false personality, and he's going to bring them harm per se. Now, this episode focused a lot on the characters, and this is one of the things that I really like about the Alienist, about how character focused it is. So I have a few notes here, so I'm going to talk about Chrysler and then the rest of the characters, and we go down from there. So Chrysler is, yeah, he is distant from people, even though he cares about people who are dealing with mental issues and mental hardships. He is sensitive towards that, but he's also very shut out, or he like shuts himself away from people. He doesn't necessarily, I guess, looking for a relationship. And there's and this episode showed there was some sort of a spark between him and Mary, who works as his maid or a helper around the house. And also, Chrysler read both John Moore and Sarah Howard in this episode, and that was a scene that I really liked. Like John Moore ended up being read, and it was revealed that he doesn't necessarily is open to. He's afraid of commitment in relationships, especially after the death of his younger brother who drowned. And Sarah Howard, like she's experiencing a lot of hardships, and she's closed off as well, especially after her father's suicide. And as far as Chrysler is concerned, there was a scene where we saw that Chrysler's right arm is deformed. It's not completely, how can I say it, normal. Like it's weak, and we get to see that, and maybe that's why Chrysler is distant from other people, because growing up he definitely must have heard a lot of jabs or insults about his arm or how he was abnormal or deformed. So yeah, that was interesting. And also Chrysler went on to talk about Cyrus. Cyrus is the colored person talking to who works as Chrysler's, who was it, a carriage driver. And it turns out that Cyrus is responsible for murdering someone. And even though Chrysler wanted to know more, it turns out that Cyrus actually enjoyed the feeling when he was murdering whoever it was he murdered. And Chrysler kind of got more that he could handle. And it was also revealed that Mary ended up burning her own father. And we don't get a lot of explanation about the circumstances under which these murders occurred. But yeah, apparently Cyrus and Mary are murderers, but Chrysler has them under his protection. And coming to Sarah Howard, she goes to this reunion, and everyone there has a beau. They're engaged, they're married, and Sarah's friend asks Sarah about if she has someone important in her life, and Sarah replies that there's a doctor, so there's possibly going to be some sort of a spark between her and Chrysler. Though I'm not sure if it's supposed to be romantic or if Sarah is just intrigued by Chrysler. Moving on, this episode showed another murder on at Battery Park, and Sarah kind of cemented her position as a crucial member of the investigation team. She was the one who deduced that this person has affinity to water. All of the murders that they have like read about or experienced or seen, they it all of the murders had a connection to water in some sort of in some way. But now this recent murder that was shown in this episode, it was like the murderer left the body out in the open, and that's why Sarah was like, this murderer or whoever is killing these boy prostitutes, he is more or less toying with them. So anyway, so yeah, I talked about John, the whole sexual assault thing. It could have been handled a lot better. I talked about Sarah, who kind of feels a connection with Chrysler, and she also deduces a very important thing about the murderer. And then I talked about Chrysler, who kind of reads Sarah and John and wants them to accept their own demons so that they can become better in life. And who else? The Jewish brothers kind of had an okay scenes. They were able to pick up photos or fingerprints from the murder site. So hopefully that will like progress to something interesting. Who else? So Theodore Roosevelt, he is. I like the actor who's playing him, but Theodore is currently in a very difficult position. He's trying to do the right thing, and he's also trying to like set his house in order because the police department is very, very corrupted. Anyway, as I said, I also did a review of this for the Geek Gear. The link to that will be down in the comment section below. And let me know if you have been watching Alienist on TNT, if you're a fan of it, or if you have read the book that this series is based on. Let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, let's see if I'll continue with this recap on reviews. Like TNT does send me screeners for these episodes, but I'm not sure if I'll continue doing video recaps and reviews of this series. Who knows? It all depends on how much time I have. Anyway, until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll see you guys later.